and that is being run by Atzeroh.
Hey guys, I'm Ads. Or as you want to call us, me and the commentator, we're both Adam. So
Yeah, so this is going to get really confusing really quickly.
yeah, so this is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Final Mix HD. It is, for anyone unfamiliar with the title, it is a prequel for Kingdom Hearts 1. It takes place 10 years before with the 3 previous Keyblade wielders. There are 3 characters that you can play from, Aqua, Ventus, and Terra. And this run is going to be done with Aqua. So, never we're good to go.
All right, just give me a countdown.
Okay. Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. But yeah, so quick explanation about the category. Critical mode is the game's hardest difficulty, and level 1, when playing on critical mode, there is an ability called 0 EXP, which prevents you from gaining experience from any enemies you kill. So we stay level 1 throughout the entire run, essentially making it the most difficult category for the game. The reason we do this on level 1 is that even though it's the most difficult, it's actually also the fastest category for the game because of... I don't know if it's a glitch, if they intended for it or what, but when you equip 0 EXP, it changes the way your damage is dealt to where it completely disregards your stats and the game just scales you to what it wants you to do. And so it's actually faster to stay level 1 and do the damage that the game scales you to rather than to level up throughout the run. For this first fight, it's just a bunch of orbs that we have to hit. Your allies in this fight can be very annoying because they can send the orbs flying away from you when you're trying to hit it. So hopefully they don't do that. I guess to explain the way the combat works in this game, unlike Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, where you just use magic, spells, and attacks, this game has commands, where you have a deck that you insert commands in, and each time you use a command, it goes on a cooldown. Once it's recharged, you can use it again, and we will be using that as our main form of combat throughout most of the run.
Yeah, and if anybody in chat has any more questions about the run, feel free to post it in chat, and I will forward that to Adam.
So get used to Aqua doing cartwheels. That's the fastest way to move in this game outside of using specific commands, which you'll see shortly, but generally it'll be cartwheels. Alright, so out of this chest I'm going to be getting something called a fleeting crystal. Oh, no, barrier surge was here. Fleeting crystal was the previous chest. You'll notice I'll be collecting up crystals throughout the run. Those will be used later to make my commands stronger. Specifically, fleeting will be used to reduce the cooldown that it takes to be able to use the commands. And right here I'm using a D-Link or a dimensional link. This essentially just gives me a new command deck for a limited amount of time. I can use it whenever that D-Link gauge above Aqua's head in the bottom right is full, and when it's activated, the ball runs out. When it runs out completely, the D-Link ends. Here I'm just stocking up on commands that I need for some upcoming fights. And I'll also be turning on 0 EXP. Okay, so this upcoming fight is an escort quest. Jacques has a key. We need him to get to the other side of the room. There are 5 different paths Jacques can take in this room. One path doesn't spawn any enemies, and it's the fastest. Every other path will spawn enemies that I have to kill, so I hope he gives me the right path. He did not. Luckily, if he's going to spawn enemies, this is the group that I want, so it's not terrible. So yeah, now we just have to wait for him to walk to the end of the room. So I mentioned the damage scaling side effect of 0 EXP earlier. We're coming up to a boss fight that's going to really show off what that looks like. The way that we assume this damage scaling works is that it makes every individual hit that you do have to do a minimum amount of damage. So attacks that have a large amount of hits will do a high amount of damage. And you'll see that near the end of this fight. So this is Spellweaver. This is how we'll be killing most bosses in this game. So you can see it did almost an entire bar of damage. The way that we achieve Spellweaver is that if you'll notice above my command deck in the lower left, there is a gauge above it that slowly fills up as I use commands. If I use specific commands, it gives me a certain command style, which is what I enter when that gauge fills up. And I know which commands give me Spellweaver, that specific command style. Once I'm in that command style, I fill up the gauge again and I get its finisher. And that finisher is how we did so much damage. So most of the run is going to be abusing that finisher against bosses. Now picking up poison, which will be used for the next boss fight and one of the later boss fights. You also notice I'll use sliding dash whenever it's off cooldown for movement. That's because it's slightly faster than moving, and I'll also try to hit an enemy with it whenever I use it, because if you hit an enemy while using sliding dash, it lets you, or it negates the landing animation. So that shows how easy it is to die in this game. You can get 2-shot because of staying at level 1. And right now, there are some enemies here called prize pods. They drop items known as ingredients, which you can use to make ice cream. I'll go more in depth later on in the run when that becomes useful. So for now, it just suffices to say that I'm collecting ingredients to make ice cream. Now, doing a bit of a sequence break to get a chest that we're not supposed to access this early. As well as picking up another fleeting crystal. And from here, we're just going to run straight to the boss fight. So this upcoming boss is actually one of the most technical bosses in this run. If I can do this strat correctly, I should kill him without him getting off an attack. But if I make any sort of mistakes, then it increases the time that this fight takes by quite a bit. I messed it up, but it might kill him. Nope. So it wasn't too bad because I did most of the strat correctly. That sliding dash I did at the end of the fight, I was supposed to jump and then sliding dash. I tried to jump a little too soon, so it ate the input. But fortunately, he didn't get away, so still worked out. So this upcoming world, Enchanted Dominion, has one of the most annoying, like, normal enemy sets. They're called goons. The goons are very punishing if you mess up any of the fights that they're in. Particularly, those two sets, so melee goons and archer goons. The melee goons can combo, and seeing as I die in 2 hits, it essentially means that if I get hit once, I'm probably dead. And the archer goons just have very long range. They can attack you from pretty much anywhere on screen, so just have to know how to avoid their hits. And then, just like in the last world, I'm going to do a bit of a sequence break kill to get a powerful chest that we're not supposed to access this early. Yeah, so by targeting an enemy and attacking at a certain angle, it lifts you up towards the enemy so we can get up to a ledge that we shouldn't have been able to get to so easily. So I think there's one goon alive back there with Philip. 2. Yeah. There's usually at least one left alive. We kind of hope Philip kills them all for us, because he can kill these small enemies, but unfortunately he didn't do his job. You'll notice that I filled my deck with magnets and thunders. Right now, I have 2 command styles available, Spellweaver and Thunderbolt. Magnets give me Spellweaver, Thunder gives me Thunderbolt, and I want to always get Spellweaver, so I have to be sure that I'm careful when I use the Thunder commands, that I don't fill up too much of the command gauge with it, because which command style I get is based off of which command fills that command gauge the most. Okay, so this section's almost done. Just have to kill off a couple more enemies. Lived with 1 hit. That's unlucky. Alright, so I mentioned earlier how that D-Link gauge needs to be full in order to enter a D-Link. I need to enter a D-Link coming up, so I'm going to kill off a couple of enemies right up here so I can refill that gauge. And now in this next room, we're going to be using the Snow White D-Link in order to farm an item. The Snow White D-Link has a command called Treasure Raid, which whenever I hit an enemy with it, it has a chance to drop its item that it can drop when you kill it. I got 1, I need to get 1 more. And I got it. So yeah, that's just more fleeting crystals that we want for these command modes coming up. So one thing you can do in this game is that once you've used a command enough and it levels up, you can actually meld it with another command in order to make its upgraded form. So we took magnets and thunders and made magnas and thunderers. And then I attached the fleeting crystals that I've been picking up throughout the run to get magic haste, which reduces the cooldown for magic-based commands. So we now have 3 of those. The max you can get is 5. So at this time, my magic commands recharge about 30-40% quicker. So this boss can be extremely difficult until you realize that she cannot hit you from behind her. So if you just stand behind her, you can't take damage. We're looking forward to use one specific attack where she breathes fire everywhere. If she doesn't use it soon, she won't use it, and that's not good. Yeah, she's not using it. So I don't know if I've seen that pattern before. Generally, if she doesn't use her fire breath attack, she lifts off and flies around. You have to deal with her until she lands. I'm not aware that I've ever seen her just stand there and stomp on the ground before. So it's really nice that she did that, because we were able to kill her before she flew away. Wasn't something I was expecting though. Alright, so Radiant Garden, this place has several fights where you have allies, and having allies is generally not good in this game. It is very rare that they're helpful, particularly in this upcoming fight. So, in order to meld commands together, they have to gain a certain amount of experience. The only way commands gain experience is if you kill the enemies. If an ally kills the enemies, the command doesn't level up. And that's a specific issue in this fight where we're fighting with Mickey. If Mickey kills too many enemies, my commands don't level up as much as I need, and I have to go out of my way to kill some more enemies after this fight. So it's best that Mickey just doesn't do anything. Okay, we were looking specifically for those 2 Thunder level ups on the top right corner, and since we got them, means we're good on experience for this point. I also noticed I haven't got a parsing crystal yet. There is one crystal that I need to have drop at some point in this run. If it doesn't, I have to go on a really long detour to get it out of a chest. So I'm hoping it drops at some point, but it hasn't yet. There's still plenty of time for it to drop, but it would have been nice to have it at this point. Okay, Trinity Armor. This fight follows the usual pattern of get to Spell Weaver and then use its finisher. Ventus and Terra in this fight, they can do damage, but it's not a lot, so... And then right now I know where he's going to charge because he always targets Aqua first, then Ven, then Terra. Now the legs are dead, have to take out the arms. Oh, sorry. Now the head's going to enter a phase where he spins and shoots lasers. He cannot take damage during this phase, so I just have to stand back and guard. And now for this attack, if you just stand right underneath him, he can't take damage, and the fight's over. So the downside for this fight is we now unlocked a new command style called Blade Charge. So that's a tier 2 command style. What I've been using for now have been tier 1s, meaning you enter the command style and then you get the finisher. A tier 2 command style like Blade Charge requires you to enter a tier 1 command style, fill up the gauge with specific commands, and then you enter it. So specifically how you get Blade Charge is if I'm in Spellweaver and I use Fire or Blizzard based commands, I will enter Blade Charge. And I don't want to do that. I want to always get the Spellweaver finisher. So from here on out, anytime I'm in Spellweaver, I cannot use any Fire or Blizzard commands until the gauge is full and I have the finisher ready. Which specifically impacts this fight. So this boss fight is Vanitas. You will see him multiple times throughout this run. The first time you fight him, he's vulnerable to most status effects, including Magnet. So he won't be leaving that spot for the rest of this fight. We will fight him multiple times throughout the run. Unfortunately, this is the only time that he's vulnerable to Magnet, so can't abuse it later, but it's nice to use now. And the reason why I'm not using the Spellweaver finisher immediately is because Vanitas actually has a retaliation. Once he takes too many hits while in the air on the ground, he'll teleport away. So he essentially can't be juggled. And if I try to use Spellweaver and it lasts too long, he'll just teleport away even with the magnets going. So I have to wait until he's almost dead, use the Spellweaver to finish him off, and then end the fight. That's going to be the last boss fight for a little while. We're going to go to Deep Space and Olympus Coliseum next, get all of the non-boss fights out of the way, and then come back and do them later when we are better prepared for it. So if I'm extremely unlucky, one of these floods will go underground as soon as this fight begins. I hope that doesn't happen. It didn't. Okay. It's happening a lot recently. Well, within that one cartwheel timing, a flood will go underground, and then I have to wait for it to come back up. I suppose one thing I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that I haven't been changing keyblades. Because if you're familiar with the Kingdom Hearts games, you know each time you beat a board or make a certain amount of progression, you get a new keyblade that's generally stronger. However, with this Horror Zero EXP damage scaling, it completely disregards your stats. So even if I were to equip a stronger keyblade, it would not affect my damage one way or another. So we just do the entire run with our beginner keyblade. This minigame is affectionately known as Gotcha Take That. I'm sure you see why. They are loving my blind spot today. I want to avoid those poles on the side because they spin me around, launch me around the stage. Just kind of wastes time. So try to stay in between them so that if an enemy does hit me, it doesn't knock me into those poles.
Also, let me know whenever is a good time to
Oh
read
yeah,
off of the donation.
right now is great.
All right, yeah, we have $25 from JM. I promised to give $5 per Jorf in my Dust Force run yesterday. Finally home and rested, so here's that promise fulfilled. Hang in there, early morning crew. Thank you for the words of encouragement.
Yeah, so that minigame can be quite annoying. The safe way to do it is just stay on the edge and wait for enemies to come to you, but as you could see in the second half of that fight, none of them wanted to get close to me, so I couldn't hit them. Now, have to clear out all of the enemies in this room so I can use this teleportal. And we're coming up on another fight with an ally. This one has Stitch. Same issue as the Mickey fight. We don't want him to kill enemies because it takes away CP. Alright, everything leveled up, so we're good there. Now normally, in a casual playthrough, after this fight, you go fight the boss of this world, Gontu. As I mentioned earlier, we're not going to do that. First, we're going to do a save rope, so instead of actually walking back to this room, we're just going to leave and re-enter through that save point. Now, hit some more prize pods for some ice cream ingredients. Now, Olympus Coliseum. Olympus Coliseum has one of the best allies, Hercules, because he is pretty much useless. He'll try to do stuff in this fight, but his attacks won't hit. So we don't have to worry about him killing anything. Lived with one hit. So I got a few crystals in this fight. I don't know if any of them was a porcine. Oh, there it is. Yep, porcine crystal. Alright, that's great. It means we don't have to go on that detour later to pick one up. Okay, and that is the third and final set of ingredients we need. So this is the 10 rounds most Kingdom Hearts games have in Olympus Coliseum style fight like this. Go through 10 groups of fights. If you die, have to start back from the beginning. It shouldn't be an issue. I guess now I can go ahead and explain the whole ice cream thing since it's coming up. As I mentioned, those prize pods drop ingredients. Those ingredients are used to make ice cream. And ice cream is an item in this game. When you use it, it fills up your command gauge and puts you in a command style. There are different flavors of ice cream for the different command styles. The one that we are specifically using is Fabricadabra, which will put us into Spellweevil. When you use one ice cream, it'll put me into the command style. Once I'm in the command style, if I use a second one, it gives me the finisher. So instead of going through that whole hassle of using different commands to fill up the command gauge, I will be able to just use 2 ice cream items and then I'll have the finisher. And we'll be abusing that on essentially all of the bosses left in this game. There's one boss we won't be, but he's not till later. Okay, so with that out of the way, that's actually the last non-boss fight in the game. Everything else from here on out will be bosses. So, I actually had annoying luck with item drops throughout this run. Most enemies you can kill drop commands, and I don't want them to because it pushes everything down in the menu, and it throws off all of my later menus. So the better luck you have with item drops, the more annoying the menus become. And I actually got quite a few item drops. Alright, so in this menu we make Second Chance and Once More, which are the 2 most important abilities that I get in this run. If you're not familiar with Kingdom Hearts games, Second Chance and Once More are essentially your way of surviving attacks that would normally kill you. If a single attack would have killed you, Second Chance kicks in and you stay at 1 health. If a combo would have killed you, Once More kicks in and you stay at 1 health. And this works as long as you're not already at 1 HP. Which is very useful against some of the later bosses to ensure that we don't die. And now it's minigame time. Every Kingdom Hearts game has to have a minigame. This is Aqua's. It's not difficult. If there's anything the announcer needs to say, now's a great time.
We don't currently have any new donations after the $25 one. Although I will say we are definitely on track to break $2,000 by the end of the marathon. We could even hit 2,500. I think we can aim for that. I think we can do it.
So yeah, unfortunately, this minigame is 3 minutes long, which is about 2.5 minutes longer than it needs to be. The AI isn't good since this is the beginner fight. So once you get like 10, 15 points, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. The fun thing that you can do in this, however, is so Birth by Sleep was originally a PSP title. It was remade for the PS3 and then ported to the PS4. When they ported it to the PS4, they changed it from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, and that had some slight side effects on random stuff throughout the game, one of which being the character's short hop animation. So, if I can time this correctly, yeah, you'll see that Aqua's body kind of doesn't know what to do if you stop jumping at the right time, and it kind of falls in on itself. It's a lot easier to show with all this fruit in the way, though. Alright, so minigame's finally over. Essentially from here on out, it's just a boss rush. We're going to go back to Deep Space in Olympus Coliseum, take out the bosses there that we skipped, and then head towards the end of the game. So for the next boss fight, Gantu, he's vulnerable to a status effect called Poison, which you may have seen that I equipped in my command gauge. Poison is a damage over time command, so we just use Poison and then use Spellweaver, and Poison will continue to damage him as we're doing that. Typically the fight ends with 2 Poison and 2 Spellweaver finishes. However, that does rely on our party member Stitch doing some damage. This is unfortunately the one fight that we really want our ally to contribute to it, so if Stitch doesn't do anything in this fight, Gantu won't die when he's supposed to. As long as he shoots him a couple times, it'll be fine. It looks like Stitch did some damage early, so we're good. And the next boss fight is somewhat similar. Instead of using Poison, though, we'll be using Ignite, which is, again, a damage over time spell. It's just Ignite is fire damage, and it does more damage than Poison. If Gantu was vulnerable to Ignite, we would use that in that fight, but Gantu is immune to Ignite, so we can't. Zack, however, is not immune, so we will be using it on him. Alright, I think I'm gonna heal before Hades. I don't want to go into that fight with only 1 health. It's not a dangerous fight, but I can get sniped by a couple of attacks, so I'm just gonna touch that real quick. So Hades is the boss fight in the game that you can lose the most time for nothing that you control. At the beginning of this fight, Hades is either going to walk towards me or away from me. We want him to walk away from me. And he's walking towards me, so we're going to hit him a couple times to see if he'll go the other way. He's still walking away. Yeah, so if Hades walks towards you, he's trying to walk to the other side of the arena away from the Ice Colossus, which sucks because if he stays next to the Ice Colossus, you can attack them both at the same time. And if you can do that, the fight goes fairly quickly. Unfortunately, we weren't able to keep them close together, so have to use a few more attacks. Hades might DM, he didn't. So, this is Hades' DM or desperation move. He's invulnerable. I just have to sit and wait it out. He generally won't use this until the Ice Colossus is dead, which is why you want to try to kill them both at the same time. However, because he moved away from the Colossus, wasn't really possible to do that. Yeah, it's just that is the one boss fight that you lose 30 plus seconds on because of nothing that you control. Pretty much every other boss in this game is execution based. If you lost time, it's most likely something that you messed up. Hades is really the one exception to it. Alright, so Neverland, it's just a giant circle. That room that we just started in is where we're going to fight the boss. And we don't fight anything until we get back from there. So, yeah, not a whole lot to speak of for this world. When we finish this world, though, we will be getting a new D-Link, which is Peter Pan. The Peter Pan D-Link is actually the strongest single target attack in this game. So it is unfortunate that we don't receive it until the very end, but I will be able to use it against one boss. Alright, so coming up, this next boss fight is our good friend Vanitas, back from Radiant Garden. As I mentioned before, this time around, he's immune to Magna, so we can't just keep him trapped like that. However, he does still have that same issue where if I try to use the Spellweaver finisher, he'll just teleport away. So instead, there is a specific attack Vanitas will use where he goes underground. When he's underground, he can't teleport away from Spellweaver, and that's when I'll use it. However, we need to wait for him to get to that point, and I want him to be at a low enough health that when he uses it, he'll die. So, for the beginning of this fight, we're just going to poke him with ignites, get him low on health, and once I've hit him with a 10th attack, he will dive underground. Unfortunately, it's kind of luck based whether or not the ignite hits. If you use it as soon as he lands, you have a better chance of hitting him, but he does still have a chance of just teleporting away. So now we force the 10 hit, force him underground, and kill him. Alright, so there's only 2 boss fights left, coming up on the last world. Have to go through a decent amount of cutscene skips. It's not as bad as some other characters. Vin actually has a reputation in the community for his final set of bosses. Between his second and third final bosses, there were 17 cutscene skips. So, Vin's story is very end-heavy on plot. Aqua, thankfully, is not that bad. So yeah, Mickey's unconscious, Donald and Goofy are there, we say hi, and then we leave. Yeah, so I guess to explain the upcoming boss fight, Greg, we're going to use the Peter Pan D-Link that I mentioned earlier. So this is another attack that was affected by that 60 FPS change. The number of attacks it does is based on the game's FPS. So when they doubled that, they doubled the amount of attacks that it does. So it was even broken back on like the PS3 version. And when you use it on that version, you get 60, 70 hits on a boss in a second. On this version, it goes up to, I think the highest I've seen is 135. Which is 6, 7 health bars. So when you can find a boss that the attack hits, you can kill them with it. And I know we're fairly far ahead of schedule. If it's desired to just waste a bit of time before the next run, I can also show off the in-game bosses. Once you beat the game, you actually unlock a epilogue that has a couple more boss fights in that can be fun to show off. So the big thing about the Peter Pan D-Link is that I need that gauge filled, and I can only fill it when I use an attack while in the air. Fortunately, deflecting projectiles while in the air counts as well. So I just have to jump and guard, and it fills up the gauge. Now that it's filled, we just have to wait for Blake to get to a specific attack that we can punish. And now, watch that health bar. And as you see, that was only 65 attacks. This finisher can do almost 140, so it's quite a strong attack. Unfortunately, we can't use it in the final boss fight because D-Links can only be used when you're by yourself. Mickey's with us, so we can't use D-Links. And this fight is similar to the previous time that we just fought Vanitas. We need to force him to use specific attacks, and once he does, I can use Spell Weaver to hit him. And time will be coming up at the end of this fight. That's unfortunate. So, I guarded a half second too soon, and a fireball hit me. You can guard most attacks in this fight, besides the fireball and the lightning. So, the fireball hit me through the guard and I died. It's unfortunate. So now these ignites and whatnot don't actually damage him. We're just getting hits on him to push him through his attack phases to get him to the next attack that we need so that we can punish it. This is it. Now, the one thing I want to not see is for him to dive immediately. If he does, yeah, that's what we didn't want to see. So the fight's going to be a bit longer now. We're just going to have to push him to the next phase again. Because, yeah, if he dives immediately, we just don't have enough time to punish that, and we can't really control it. It's just unfortunate luck. Okay. And time is now. Time.
Alright. Nicely done.
Thanks. I'm guessing a low 50?
That's way over. 47.53.
Oh. Wow. Okay, my PB is a 45.50 something, which I just got a couple days ago. So, yeah, that's much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, very
with,
nice.
Those couple of deaths.
I would say it's always satisfying seeing the health bar go down so quickly.
Yeah, that's the best part about the specifically the Peter Pan D-Link on Blake. Just 3 bars of health instantly gone. Okay, so I don't know what the plan is.
So we're about like a half hour ahead of schedule, so it's about 8:45 or so that Ron Master's going to be doing Command and Conquer. He's not even in the building yet, so either we can just chill until then, or if you have any other any other bits of the game you want to show off, anything you want to do, feel free and do some exhibition stuff.
Sure, that was actually an epilogue that we unlock right now. Thankfully, I did this on my normal profile and not the speedrunning one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have unlocked this.
One other thing is that, again, because it's like 7 a.m. there's not people here and nobody was tuned, but that was a sick run and it deserved some, some congratulations. So,
thanks.
Hopefully people watching will be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I wasn't as practiced as I would have liked to be, but I have been running specifically Aqua since back on the PSP. It's been off and on the last 5 years or so. So it's been a fun game to run. It's definitely changed a lot since its PSP days. But yeah, so the epilogue, this is just 2 boss fights, and both of them can abuse the Peter Pan D-Link that we showed off in Brig, but with higher health bars, so you get to see more of the fun with it. Just have to skip through a few cutscenes.
I guess a good question to ask what might be, why have you chosen to go with Aqua instead of Terra or Ventus?
I just enjoy her run the most, and it's the one I'm the most experienced with. So I actually ran this game at Limit Break, RPG Limit Break, back in May, and there I did a character bid roll where you could choose between which of the 3 characters. But I was also more experienced back then, could get away with that. Recently I've started working. I work 60 hours a week, so I don't have a whole lot of time to play. So I just wanted to run the game that, or the character that I have the most experience with. Balloon Letter.
That's fair.
She's also, like, plot-wise and gameplay-wise, my favorite character to play, so. Alright, so these 2 bosses are both just going to be try to fill the Peter Pan D-Link. I haven't done this in quite a while, so we're going to see how this goes. I actually just realized I forgot one command I'm supposed to have, so I'm just going to go ahead and die. As I said, it's been a while since I've had to show this off. I actually don't think I have the command. Yeah, I actually don't have it, so I'm just going to load up a save file that does. It's the exact same setup, but it has the extra chest in it. So this one. Yeah, it's just one item in a chest that I need, and I couldn't get it if I wanted to because it's in that world where that boss is, and you can't enter it without fighting the boss, so yeah. Okay. So I need to buy 1 item real quick. Balloon Letter. There we go. Now we can do the boss fights. So yeah, same setup. Just have this command on it, Counter Blast. Okay, so the command mage is full. I'm now waiting for a specific attack. And there goes his health ball. Yeah. This is a fun attack to abuse. It's just unfortunate that you get it at the very end of the run, so you only get to see it on a couple bosses. Now phase 2 is going to be the same thing. So I'm going to use Balloon Letter. Hopefully he doesn't hit me. He hit me. If he's nice, he doesn't hit me though, and I can get away with that. Dang. I'll give it one more shot, and if not, then we can move on. On the bright side, because I died, my D-Link gauge is full. I don't have to try to use a Balloon Letter now. So I can just instantly enter the D-Link and set up.
Wait, is this boss a JoJo reference?
I don't think so. The game's been... I don't know. I've never seen JoJo, so I couldn't tell you. I assume it's not. But... thing is, a Japanese game. Maybe Nomura likes JoJo. Okay, so I'm specifically trying to bait out one specific attack. Dead again. Yeah, so if this had been something that I'd practiced, because I wasn't planning on showing it off, it wouldn't be too bad, but I haven't done this since Limit Break back in May. It's a little rusty at it. Okay, I'll live through it that time because I was at 1 health. Now he's dead. Yeah, so took a lot of setup to finally get it, but Peter Pan D-Link, it's fun to abuse. Yeah, so I guess if we want to start setting up, or do you want to start setting up, or is
It's just gonna be plugging in that PC because he's gonna have to install the game and everything.
Okay.
For the next run.
Okay.
We can all just sit here in silence and stare at each other if we want.
I mean, there's some other bosses if you want me to do that.
Whatever you want to do. It's fine.
Okay.
Keep showing us a lot of things for free.
Yeah, sure.
There's some free game on Steam
I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna beg you.
Okay. I have one more boss I can show off just for the hell of it. Just have to find the right save file. This one. This one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is it. This is it. So mention so you saw throughout that run Fabricadabra. This is Daisy Sorbet. It's a stronger ice cream. Unfortunately, it takes a lot in order to unlock it, so we don't get to see it in a normal speedrun, but I can abuse it on some of the optional bosses.
Do we have time for a donation?
Go for it.
All right, we have an anonymous donation of $9.75. Hey, Atzeroh. Shame you didn't have anyone on the couch because that was one hell of a run. Been a long-time fan of Kingdom Hearts, and it's always great to see some health bars get shredded. Rock on.
Yeah, I do have one friend that wanted to make it, but he got called into work for this morning, so...
Yeah, shoutouts to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I would have been here memeing, but I was sleeping out in the hallway.
I saw you out there when I went to use the restroom.
Yeah, it was pretty comfy, right? Lying in a chair and resting my legs on a block, I guess.
Yep.
It was really, really nice.
If my run had been any earlier, I may have been in that same position. Just come here last night, pulled an all-nighter. So this is the game's ultimate optional boss. He was added in the final mix versions. When I pause the game, you'll see that it gives you 25 minutes to beat the boss for its completion bonus. So,
You think you can do that?
I'll try.
25 minutes? Yeah.
I can get this timer going again if you want.
It actually times it itself when I beat the fight. It'll show me it. Yeah, so boss has 2 phases. The first phase is this wall, because it's a wall. Unfortunately, it likes to hover up in the air where I can't hit it. You guys also get to see a different command style than Spellweaver, which Rhythm Mixer, they also added this when they added this boss. It is the strongest command style. And just to mention, I am still level 1. Loaded up a 100% level 1 file that I have so I can show this off. If you played Kingdom Hearts 2, you might also recognize this boss. You fought him, but he never stood up. This is what happens when he actually gets out of his chair. Yeah, that's the downside because of there being Disney aspects to it. A lot of people think it is more of a kid's game, but it's actually pretty complex of a game. There's a lot of depth to it. So that attack where he slams into the ground is actually his most dangerous attack in this fight for me. If that hits me, I'm stunned. And when I'm stunned, he can just walk up and kill me. So I don't want to ever get hit by that. Oh, so that pillar he just summoned, when you walk through that, it either gives you haste or slow. It's random which one it is. I'm going to walk through it just to hope it's haste. It was haste. Awesome. So this is his fight with haste.
It's a godlike read.
The first time I had this happen, I had no idea what was going on, because it's like a 90% chance that pillow gives you slow instead, so I thought it was always just a slow. The downside is that he too can get that effect when he goes through it, so he never did, thankfully, but if he did, he'd start just rushing around the room. Okay, there's the fight.
That's around.
Wow, you did it in under 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Good job.
only just under 5 minutes. But yeah, so when they originally added this boss in the PSP version, you did chip damage. Any attack you did against him was one hit. And it's because you could do multiplayer in the PSP version. So you could have up to, I don't know if it was 2 or 4. Either way, you could have multiple people fighting this boss at the same time. So that was the expectation. You go into
They
this
like
with...
designed it as a raid boss.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Weird.
Yep. And then, unfortunately, people who tried to solo him without friends, because it's a PSP title, not many people had the game, and it's even harder to play it online. trying to do this fight in under 25 minutes alone was actually difficult. Thankfully, because they removed multiplayer in the console versions, they fixed that, so you do actual damage to him. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut it then. Thanks guys for having me. Hope you enjoyed the run.
Thank you very much.
And for anyone interested in running Kingdom Hearts, there's a ton of information on the speedrun.com pages for it. Those community Discord, feel free to hop in, ask questions. Yeah, thanks again.
And thank you. I will say, I've actually tried dabbling in some Kingdom Hearts speedruns a little bit myself, and it's pretty amazing how quickly you can fly through everything.
This game actually has one of the shortest